in case there's anyone who isn't able to make it. But I'm so happy to see all your beautiful faces. Just excited about tonight's call. So many amazing things happening. I'm just going to mute everybody really quickly before we dive in. Not because I don't want to hear your beautiful voices, but it gets a little distracting. Okay, so let me first really quickly just kick off tonight's call in case there is anyone on here who I don't know. Welcome to the FFHG Sisters team call. My name is Caroline Foster, and I'm the mama bear of the FFHG Sisters. I'm so excited. Oh, Courtney, sorry, I forgot to mute myself. It's okay. I'm so excited to have you guys on tonight. I'm excited about tonight's call. I always love the weeks when everybody is here, because like the weeks when it's just my team and like other people aren't on, I get on and I'm like, where is everyone? So the nights when we're all together, it just makes me so happy to see all your beautiful faces. But I'm really excited about tonight's call. Emily Bell is, let's see, she became a coach about 6 months ago. So what was that, like November, December-ish? And really hit the ground running. So background story, Emily will tell you more of her story, but just to kind of introduce her, and I posted this on our team page, but she has been living a crazy life the past few months. She works full-time as a social media director for nursing homes and assisted livings. So as you guys can imagine, when COVID hit, like people are blowing up Twitter and social media, and she's got to be like this charming, amazing person who knows how to respond and not probably break laws. And so that was all super crazy. Her husband's in seminary. And so as you can imagine, that's also like a crazy kind of different life of like having someone who's always studying, but found the time to pour into this business and still hit success starters. And really has just kind of come in pretty hot. And it's just been really cool to see how God has used her, and she does things. One of the things I love about Emily is that she's always trying to look for ways to do things differently. But you know, I love that, because I think sometimes we come into this and we're like, we automatically think we just do things like our upline. Like, let me just be a copycat of them. And it's okay if you are. I mean, sometimes you're just trying to find your own voice, so you kind of do what they do for a little bit. But one of the things I love about Emily is that she's come in and she's like thinking about how she wants to run her team, you know, and she's thinking about how she wants to do her business a little differently. And I love that, because like she's trying to find a way that makes it unique to her. And so excited for you guys to learn from her tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Emily, and it's going to be amazing. All right, Em.
All right. Well, my heart is beating super, super fast. I am intentionally not looking at all the faces on this call tonight because I might vomit. That would not be good. So I do a lot of presentations for my other job, but normally I feel like I've done those presentations 20 times and this is new, and so I've been really nervous all day. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I did make a PowerPoint. I hope it does not bore you. It's just to keep me focused, because otherwise I'm like very spazzy and just kind of go all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Thank you. Thank you, Courtney.
That's literally the first thing I said about Emily when she joined our team. I was like, she has the best hair ever.
Thank you.
Okay, do I need to like give you sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Did I give that to you?
Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Do I need to press something? Sorry, I haven't done this in a really long time.
I'm not sure.
Let's see.
Cindy says yes.
Okay, now I have it to where you can, I think.
Here we go. Cool. All right. We're just going to do that. Okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, I'm expecting yes. Okay. And first off, I just want to say something. I really appreciate everyone being muted and all of that, but if you guys, I really like to have like feedback and all of that, just so I don't feel like I'm talking to a wall. So if any of you guys have questions, if any of y'all have comments, please let me know. Basically, I am just going to share what has been successful for me. Like Caroline said, I don't always have a whole lot of time to jump on and look and see what everyone else is doing. So I've just started coaching based on like what fits into my life and what my goals are with coaching. So I'm going to tell you what has worked for me. You guys might have different strategies, but this is what I've done. So a little bit about me. I've been married for a year and a half. I got married last January to a man who's completely out of my league. He is so much nicer than me. He is so much just like better than me all around. He is wonderful. And when we got married, we thought that we were going into the military, but then he decided that he wanted to be a Navy chaplain. And to be a Navy chaplain, you gotta go to seminary. So we figured that we didn't have any roots, so why not just go now? So we moved from Jacksonville, Florida to Louisville, Kentucky for him to attend the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And so 6 months after we got married, I found myself in a completely different city that I did not expect myself to be in, looking for a job. And I'd only been out of college for, at that point, 6 months. So I had started a job right after graduation, then jumped into another one. I got a job as a full-time social media manager for a healthcare company, like Caroline was saying. And first off, I just need to clear something up really quick. I feel like when I was a new coach, I was constantly looking at other coaches and like thinking of ways that I could discredit myself. And I just want you guys to know that managing retirement home social media pages is completely different than coaching. So if you're thinking, well, she like hit success starters because she does social media. Y'all, I post people, like, my requirements for my social media posts is anyone asleep in the photo? Does everyone look like they're having a good time? Like, it's completely different. I have never marketed myself before. When I first started coaching, I had 500 followers on Instagram. So please do not start out this coach or this team call by discrediting yourself. That is like a huge disservice to yourself. And if you continue to do that, you're never going to be able to find tips and tricks from other coaches. So don't count yourself out. Tip number one. So I worked full-time as a social media coordinator. And then also when we moved up here, my husband got hired at a little country church as a youth pastor. So I started working full-time and serving alongside him, and then like trying to navigate this whole new community. And in the midst of that, I was like, had gained like 17 pounds after we got married because I was like in this like marital bliss bubble where I was watching Game of Thrones and eating ice cream on the couch every night. Like, don't judge me on the Game of Thrones thing. Like, it was just horrible. Like, I just sat there and like, we were just like so happy. And all of a sudden I was like, holy crap, what just happened? And up until that point, in college, I was super active and had never like dealt with that. And I had led like a really active life. And so then post-college, I'm married and then working a very sedentary job. And I was like, it's like really easy to gain weight. And I never had to deal with that before. And I had used Beachbody products and programs and stuff in the past, and had started hearing about coaching when I was a senior in high school. And like on their little programs and stuff, when they would talk about it after the workouts went in, and I was like, that is so cool. Like, oh my gosh, like I think that would be the coolest thing ever. And then 4 years later, now I'm like doing it. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So I love to cook and I love to have people over, and I'm really OCD about my house. So those are some little tidbits about me. So when I first, like I was just saying about my fitness journey, when we first moved here, I was dealing with 17 pounds of extra weight that I was looking to get rid of, and trying to balance that with working full-time and serving at a church alongside my husband. When we first moved up, I tried everything. I joined a swim club because I grew up as a competitive swimmer and was like, I know that this can like lean me out, like all of that good stuff. But it was just really expensive. Like I was spending $25 a month, like for team fees, and then another $75 on top of that for pool fees. And I was like, $100 a month. Like I can't afford that. We're in seminary. You know what I mean? Like I'm early on in my career, like that's just not sustainable. So then the seminary has like a CrossFit program, which was a little bit cheaper. So me and my husband were going for $120 a month, and it was just like we were spending all that money. And so I was like, we have to be there, you know, like we have to get up and we have to go. And I was like going before work, and so I was like lugging all of my stuff there. We were having to go to bed like really early to be able to get up to go, and we were leaving our house at like 4:45, and then I was showering in a locker room, and like it was a good day or a good week if we went like 3 times. And I was like, I cannot justify this. This is like $120 and I'm going 3 times a week, you know, and like I'm not seeing a difference. I have rope burns from climbing these stupid ropes, and I feel like I'm gonna puke every workout. And I was just like, man, like what am I gonna do? And I know this might sound silly, but when you're in this transition and you don't feel like yourself, and you're trying to navigate all of these different changes, and you're sleep deprived because you're going to CrossFit, I was just like so at the end of the line. And I was literally, I remember driving to work and sitting in the parking lot of this new job and like praying and being like, Lord, like I need a solution. And like, I know that sounds really vain, but I was at the point where I was like, I need something that is going to be sustainable, that we can afford, and that is going to like make a difference. And like I said, like I had used Beachbody programs in the past. I used it actually right before my wedding. I did the 21-day fix because my dress had gotten a little tight. And so I was like, oh, I need to whip myself into shape. So I did the 21-day fix, and it had worked great. And I was like, you know what? I just need to take, or just kind of like be humble and start doing Beachbody again, because I didn't feel like in my head it was trendy enough or like effective enough, even though I had seen it work. And I know that sounds silly, but you know, with bar and like with CrossFit and all of that stuff, it's like you almost feel like you need to be doing all these trendy workouts, but they weren't as effective. And so I was like, you know what, Lord, like I'm gonna just start doing Beachbody programs again. And around that same time, Caroline had come up in my like Instagram suggestions and stuff, and so I started following her. And I had followed her for a couple of months, and then she had posted, I remember it was in November, she had posted that she was taking 7 new coaches on that month. And I was like, oh my gosh, all those spots are gonna fill up so quick. Like this is something I've been wanting to do. And I was like, I need more information. And so, I mean, that's maybe a really good tip, you know, to like seem like it's really scarce and stuff. Cause I was like, I need to get on that list right now. I was like, one name had gone up already. And so I was like, I'm gonna be name number 2 on that list. So I reached out to her and kind of told her about, you know, like my goals and how like I had always kind of seen myself as, you know, maybe being able to lead some group fitness classes. I had been looking into getting my certification in that just because I've always loved fitness, you know, and like it's always been a big part of my life, and I've always loved doing it with other people. And so I was telling her a little bit about that, but I was like, you know, with my schedule, there's no way I could ever do that. You know, like on Wednesday nights, I'm at the church. On Thursday nights, I'm taking classes at the seminary. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm recovering from everything on Sunday. And so it was just like, it wasn't going to be possible, you know, and I had this like desire in my heart. And then when I was talking to her and I learned that it could actually be a business, my wheels really started turning. And it was like, for the first time, like I felt like this could be a solution, you know, because even though I, you know, was blessed with this job when I moved up to Louisville, it wasn't, you know, I don't want to be posting like pictures of people in retirement homes for the rest of my life. Like that's just not like my dream job, you know? And I've just seen what it can be like to feel good about yourself and to be proud of the progress that you're making like in your fitness journey. And I was like, I want other women to experience that. And so anyways, I just felt like that was like the biggest answer to prayer, because I mean, everything just happened at, you know, the parking lot of my job, because I talked to her in the parking lot of my job, prayed that prayer in the parking lot of my job. So the Lord is there. But anyway, so we talked and I went home and I told my husband, I was like, hey, like, you know, I think that this could be really cool. You know, I think I could actually do something with this. And, you know, $140 for us, it was actually $160. And I was like, you know, that's like a lot for us, because we were still recovering from being on money for CrossFit and didn't have anything to show for it. And so we prayed about it. And like I said, like he's awesome. And so he's like, if like you think that you can do this, if this is something you really want to do, then do it, And so I was like, all right, well, I committed to a year. So, during that year, like, I'm going to give it everything I've got, and like when I signed up for a year, I didn't think like, oh, a year, but if it doesn't work out, like I'll stop after 2 months. I was like, okay, a year. And so I texted Caroline and I was like, all right, I'm in. And then she sent me all of those goals, like the success starters and like hitting Emerald and all of that stuff. And I was like, there's no way this goes crazy. I'm not going to be able to do all this stuff. Because even as I was signing up, there were so many doubts in my head, and like, even though like I know that I have like the drive to do something if I like set my mind to it, there was still those things like, it was just all going on up here. It was like a spiritual battle where I was like, should I actually do this? Like, am I going to just fall on my face? Is this going to be like a huge embarrassment? But I mean, like, I have a goal, and like that goal is to be able to start building a business now, so that like one day, like I can replace my income. And so I was like, if I don't start now, I'm never going to be able to do it. Certainly don't want to be like 2 years from now and think, man, what could I have done if I had signed up 2 years ago and really started like running after it. So decided to move ahead. But on this call tonight, I don't know how many new coaches are on here, but like, I just want you guys to know that it is really scary when you're signing up. And those fears that you are feeling are really real. And whether you know it or not, a lot of us coaches, when we first signed up, were terrified. And there are a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome to even stay in it, I feel like, the first 3 months, because it's so easy to quit. Because no one's there, you're not working in an office, no one's there to hold you accountable or hold your hand through it necessarily. And so I just want to validate those for you. But my goal tonight is to address those and show you what I did to like overcome those fears and those obstacles, and to just kind of just to encourage you, and these are just things that have worked for me, and things that I face, and just like keep on pushing through. All right, so we're gonna move on. Okay, so like I said, one of my whys when I first started was to start building a business now to replace my income in the future. I would really like to have kids in the next couple of years, but like I said, my husband's in seminary and he's a youth pastor at a small church. So you do the math. Like, it is not possible for me to do that. On like, we just can't survive on one income. And in December, it was funny, like right after I signed up for coaching, we had like a pregnancy scare. And I remember I was like, what am I going to do? And he's like, well, my mom can move up and like she can help take care of the babies. And if that does not motivate you to hit the ground running and coaching, then I don't know what is. I was like, my mother-in-law is not freaking coming up here and she's not raising my babies while I go to work. And so I feel like God gave me some perspective in that, because I'm like, Lord, that was terrifying, but thank you. Because I mean, that was like a huge reality check. I was like, I need to start working now. So anyway, so that is a huge why for me. But another why for me, I say my whys, is because again, I feel like as women, from the time that we are like 12 years old, we're looking at our bodies and like, what in the world is going on here? Like not feeling good about ourselves, like just like hating on ourselves like so much. And I think that we are created to live in freedom from that, like as like believers, you know what I mean? Like, first off, that is like, we are keeping ourselves enslaved to those feelings of hate and like shame over our bodies. And I was tired of that. And I know that for me, when I have a sustainable workout plan and I have a workout plan that I get results from, those feelings go away. And I can focus on the things that God has put right in front of me. Because when I am so worried about myself and how my butt looks in jeans, then I'm not really, giving my full heart to what is in front of me. And that is my job, that's my husband, and that's like our ministry together, And so I saw that in my own life. And then like, I was just so tired of my friends living in that same like slavery, just like constantly, I feel like every single time we were in swimsuits or anytime we were out to eat, it was like, that was the topic of conversation. And for me, I'm like, I'm not going to complain about something if I'm not putting in the work to change it, you know? And so, and I know that I was facing a lot of obstacles when I first like got married and when we first moved up here. And I know that it can be difficult to find a plan that works, but Beachbody removed all those obstacles. So I was thinking, you know, if I face those obstacles as like a newlywed and then like newly graduated career woman or whatever, other women are facing those same obstacles. And like, I know that this is a solution for them. And I want my friends and I want the women in my community to find the freedom that I have found through this. And it, again, like we talk about it all the time, that like Beachbody is not a Christian program, but Beachbody can teach us discipline, and discipline is from the Lord, you know? And like when we live a life of discipline, there's a specific joy that we can live in that we just can't apart from that, you know? So, and we've been called to steward our bodies well. We've been called to live lives of discipline. And so, and Beachbody is a tool for me to be able to do that. So those are my whys. Going into all of the stuff about fear. For a second, I'm gonna move this a little bit. Okay, so these are some of the fears that I faced when I first signed up, when I was talking to you guys about how when I was talking to Caroline, there's a couple of things that were running through my head. So the first fear would be that I would be that girl. I think with the rise of network marketing, we all know friends who jump on their social media page and, you know, their stories pop up and you're like, oh man, I want to mute them so bad. And it's just because like, it's just so salesy. And like, you know, you hear your other friends talking about it and you're like, man, if I start coaching, am I going to be that person? Am I going to be that person that people like talk about? And so that made me really nervous. And I was like, I do not want to be that girl. And then, I mean, I still had weight to lose when I signed up to be a coach. And so I thought that people would judge me based on my, you know, physique at the time and think that I was unqualified to be coaching and leading other people. And honestly, that was just a fear that like I had to overcome, because was I at my goal weight when I started coaching? No, but I was taking the steps that I needed to change my current physique and my current level of fitness. And I think that that's really important. It's like, if you're doing the work, like that is something, you're taking a step that other people aren't taking, you know? And so if you're walking the walk, you need to be proud of that, because there's a lot of people that aren't doing that. So that's one thing that I am just like really passionate about, is like, you do not have to be a bikini model to be a coach. You can start right where you're at, because you are putting in the work and you can lead other women who haven't taken that step yet. I didn't want to seem like a know-it-all. Sorry, I'm still kind of nervous. I didn't want to seem like a know-it-all. I didn't want people to think that I was talking about things that I didn't know about. I basically didn't want to come across as like prideful on my Instagram stories. And then most of all, I was afraid I was going to fall flat on my face and just fail in front of everyone, that I would be the girl that started this. And then 2 months later, it was crickets because it didn't work out. So that was a huge fear. Oh. Okay. So I do want to go over some do's and don'ts for overcoming fear and crushing your goal, because even though I had all of those fears, and even though those were coming into my mind, and, you know, to be very honest with you, they still come into my mind, you know, today, like even after like I've put in the work and like I have, you know, challengers now that are like seeing results too, they still creep at your mind, you know, and they still want to like have power over you. And I just have to remind myself what is true and just put them to the side, you know, get those lies out of your head and like turn to what is true. So these are some things that I have applied that have helped me to overcome some of those obstacles as a new coach. Okay. So do tell others about coaching and your goals, and don't downplay what you are trying to achieve. So when I first started coaching, again, I was super nervous, but as soon as I signed up, I went home and I told my husband, and I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I signed up to start coaching because I want to replace our income, like, or my income, you know, and my goal is to be able to like stay at home, like when we have kids one day, and that is what I'm doing. So I need you to hold me accountable, because I know I'm going to want to quit eventually, but I need you to hold me to that and remind me of why I signed up. And if you're not married, or if you don't have a significant other, tell your mom. Tell your best friend, tell someone, because when you're telling other people, you're putting it out there, and that gives it power. I think when you speak things, it makes them real, you know, and that's like taking the big, you know, the big step. And like, even today, like I was with some of my girlfriends and they were like, Emily, so like, what's your dream job? And I had kind of been like hesitant to be like, well, I actually want to be like a Beachbody coach full time. And one of my girlfriends was like, well, what about your coaching thing that you're like sharing about all the time? Like, tell me about that. And I was able to sit there and tell them about it. And I like had to like catch myself from being like, oh no, like it's just my side thing. And I was like, actually, yeah, like that's what I'm really trying to achieve. And like, that's where my heart is. And like, I'm passionate about helping other women find freedom through their fitness, you know? So don't downplay it. Tell other people about it. Cause when you speak about it, it's more real and you're working towards a real goal at that point. Okay. This is something I've kind of already covered, but I wanted to say, know the nerves that you are feeling are normal, but don't let those nerves keep you from chasing the desires God has placed on your heart. So it is scary to start coaching, right? It's scary to put that first post out there. It's scary to do an Instagram story where you are talking and inviting people to one of your challenge groups. But the reality is, starting anything new is very scary. When I started like my new job, that first week, I was really nervous that I was going to screw up. Guess what? I did mess some things up. But that's a part of doing anything new. And I joined the She Works His Way community, and I was listening to one of their like live classes and stuff this past week. And I loved what the speaker said. She was talking about how challenges were a doorway that she just had to walk through. And I think that that's so true, because like, we are going to face challenges, especially as coaches. We're going to run into obstacles where we just have to pivot and where we just have to continue pressing through. And a lot of the things that you're doing as a new coach are just that. They're new and they're challenging. But if you do not persevere through those, and if you do not continue walking through, you will never get to the other side. You will never hit your why. You're just going to stay stagnant. And I just don't think that we're called to be stagnant. And I also don't think that we're called to be paralyzed in our fears. So just know that like, it's okay to be nervous, but it's not okay to just let that control your life and your business. You know, this is your business. And so like, we have to continue walking through and, you know, just walk through that doorway. Just do it. Just get it done. And it's scary, but I bet you can do it. I know you can do it. So get involved with the team grace camps and opportunities, but don't take on too much too soon. So when I first started coaching, I mean, there's always something going on. Caroline does an awesome job of like cultivating all of these opportunities for coaches to get involved. And I think that's super important. I think that when you first jump in, signing up to do a couple of posts in like a grace camp, or even just signing up to like, I don't know, make the playlist or whatever, doing that stuff like gives you some skin in the game, right? So, you know, you have some ownership of your business. You're not just letting other people create the content all the time. You're not letting other people coach your challengers, but it can get overwhelming if you're like, oh, I'll sign up. So maybe like each month, choose like one or two things that you're going to get involved with and do those two things well. You know, don't think that you have to jump in and learn everything super fast. I remember the first couple of team calls I was on, I was like, what language are these people speaking? Like, it's a lot when you first jump in, but you don't have to like learn everything the first week. Just show up, you know, share your journey, get involved with some things that are going on, but don't think you have to do it all. And don't think you have to be involved in every single like group text. Like if you have to like mute a couple, and that's fine. And like go in and see what people are asking about, because it's probably questions that, you know, you have too. But don't feel like it has to run your life right away. You can ease into it, but do take some ownership. Set big goals, but don't throw in the towel if you don't hit them. So I don't think I shared this with any coaches actually. But when I was first running for Success Club, thank the Lord that they came out with that first like 6-month thing, because I was solid my first 2 months and I hit Success Club in December and in January. But then in February, it was my last month and I like didn't hit it. And I was like, I remember it was halfway through the month and I had like 0 Success Club points. And I just started like panicking and like thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to like send out all of this stuff. And I remember it was it was like team cup. So I'm sorry if I was on your team because I did nothing. But anyways, so I'm like sending out all of these like invites and was just being like so spammy and salesy. And I'll cover this a little bit later. And I was getting like no bites, like nothing. I was getting ghosted and I was like feeling gross because I was like feeling like I was selling stuff in a slimy way and not really making those connections first. And so I just stopped. After I got ghosted for a week, I was like, that's it. I'm done. Like I'm not going to hit my goals this month. And I just kind of like puttered out, you know? And so for me, like, I mean, obviously my goal was to hit success starters in month 3, but when I didn't hit it, I just lost all steam and I was like completely unmotivated. And I think with this business, it's like, especially when you're starting new, you really do like have to figure out what works. And that requires trying a whole lot of things. So if something doesn't work, turn and pivot and, you know, try something else. But don't be so upset when you don't hit your goals that you're like, oh, like it's not working at all. Sometimes it takes time, you know, because a lot of those people that I invited in February are now my challengers. And they just contacted me within the last 2 months, you know? And so like, I didn't see like the fruit of the harvest until later, until I like held on a little bit longer, you know? And that's the thing is like, your business is so new. So you're going to be doing a lot of work up front and you might not see the fruit of that labor until a little bit later on. But if you give up, you will never see that. All that hard work that you did in the beginning, you will never reap the benefits of that. You'll never get the commission. You will never build the foundation of your business. You have to hold on even when you don't hit those goals. Refocus. And like for me, it was going home and I was like, I'm quitting, like a big baby to my husband. He's like, you signed up for a year and you're going to stick it out. Because he thought that I wasn't going to make like any money. So the first month when I made like $100, he's like, oh yeah, you know, and date night and all of that. But so like, I'm super grateful that he didn't let me quit because I was being, you know, a baby about it. But, you know, and again, that goes back to speaking your goals out loud so that someone can hold you accountable. Don't give up though, because you don't know how the Lord is going to use those invites later on, even if you are slimy about them. Do connect with others before you invite. This goes into it. Don't let your desire to succeed push you to do business in a way that feels slimy. That's just kind of how I feel. That I call it slimy because that's how I feel on the inside when I send out really salesy invites. This is something that I've learned within the last few months. When you are consistently connecting with people, so when you're inviting, when you're those like thank you messages to people who have followed you back and you start those conversations, there's not that crazy sense of urgency to send out all of these like rogue invites. You know, so I typically have like 4 or 5 messages in my like DMs from people that I'm constantly connecting with and I'm constantly fostering those conversations. And it doesn't always have to be about Beachbody, guys. Most of the times my communication or my connections start on something that's super random. And like you have to, I won't talk about that now. But just like, I mean, like I do a ton of polls on my Instagram stories. I respond to other people's Instagram stories and I'm constantly laying that foundation so that it can open up into a conversation about Beachbody. I'm typically having conversations about Beachbody every day or every other day based on connections I've made that have nothing to do with fitness, you know? But if you're not consistent with that, then you're not going to have the opportunity to have those connections and you're just going to be sending out invites all the time. So if you're not connecting, you need to start now, even if it's connecting with like 2 people a day. Do what you have to do and like, you know, connect with people. Respond to their stories, like do what you got to do. Okay, remember that you are working toward building an incredible business for you and your family, and do not be discouraged by other people's opinions or rude remarks. We all have people that are going to say rude things when we start coaching. For me, it was my aunt. You know, she's like, who do you think you are? You know, and like sharing all this stuff. And I was like, wow, Aunt Carrie, you're just a gem. But you know, like even that remark, it was months ago, but it's still like, I still remember it. And I still, even when I'm posting, it comes up in my head. But the reality is that my aunt and my uncle and all those people that are making fun of you or, you know, whatever, they are not paying your bills, and they're not going to be the ones that go to work while someone else is watching your babies one day. Like, it is not about them. And I have too many people in my challenge groups that are seeing incredible results and who are loving it, and I'm having positive conversations all the time, to let 1 or 2 comments a month throw me off my, business goals. Do not allow, like, they're gonna come, and those comments they're gonna come. You can't control all the time what people say, but you just need to acknowledge now that you're gonna allow those to roll off your back. Don't let them have weight in your business. All right. Okay. Do you believe you can do this, and do not discredit yourself? I think that this is the most important thing, because I think, especially for me, like, I was always thinking, I can't do this, I can't do it. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to make a successful business out of this, or at least even just hit my goals, and when you start thinking like that, your actions are going to follow, and you're going to start to trickle out. You're not going to show up because you're going to be like, well, what's the point? Like, I can't do it anyways. Or you're going to look at coaches that are really successful, and you're going to say, well, I couldn't do that. Like, they have this, and this going for them, and I don't have those things going for me. You have to stop that now, because if you continue to do that, your business will never grow. And the only thing that is different between you and a successful coach is the work that you put in. Because, like, again, like, I love what a lot of the coaches say, Caroline, what you say and all that stuff, like, why not you? And, like, you need to start thinking about that when you are sitting down to do your business. Like, why not you? Why can't you make this something great? And it's hard work, and it's showing up, and it's doing the things that are difficult, even when you don't want to do them. But don't put it on something else. Don't make excuses. Show up and do it. You can do this. You can, but you have to believe in yourself. Okay, so tips for the full-time working coach. And let me check and see. I'm very long-winded. Okay, I'll speed this up, I promise. Sorry, I just get.
No, this is so good, Emily. You keep at it. We're loving it. I'm sorry we're all being silent. You told us not to be, but.
Oh, no, you're all good.
Oh, good.
Okay, so tips for the full-time working coach. This is stuff that I have just found is really helpful. It's very practical. Organization is your friend. I was talking to Stephanie about this actually the other day. At the end of the week, if I know I'm going into a really busy week with work, I look at the connections that I've made the previous week, and I just go through my DMs, or a lot of times I have the day designer planner like this. I have like the Mac Daddy one because I take a lot of notes, and I write down any connections I've made. And I also have a bulletin board on the back of one of my closet doors. And when I make a connection, I'm writing it down so that when I go into that next week, like on Saturday or Sunday night, I'll sit down and I'll schedule out which invites I'm going to send. So if I've made like 20 connections, there I go. That's 4 days of invites. And I write it down and schedule when I'm going to send those invites out. And that might sound a little bit mechanical, but for me, it works. I know that I'm hitting those things that I need to be doing, and it's, proven successful. Save messages, comment responses, and screen recordings for quick access. A lot of times what we're doing, a bulk of my time is spent, speaking to people who are interested. So I go ahead and save those, and I might adjust them so it doesn't sound so robotic, but then I'm sending them and I'm not taking all that time to type out on my phone or to do those, walk people through it. So like one screen recording I have is like how to cancel their Shakeology if they're interested. So I'm not having to do that every single time. And I have those notes saved, and I just send them to them, and then I'm done and I can walk away. If you don't feel comfortable sharing about Beachbody because coworkers follow you, you are allowed to block people from your Instagram account. I don't know if everyone recommends that. I ended up blocking my coworkers because I knew that they weren't going to be buying from me. And I just felt more freedom when I was knowing that like people from work weren't watching me, because I just didn't want that to come up in conversations when I was at work. If that, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then that's fine. I don't think that they're aware that I did that. But for me, I have gained a lot of freedom, and I feel like I can speak freely. I'm not talking about how I want to leave my job, on my Instagram, because I don't think that that's wise. But I just feel more freedom doing that. If coworkers do follow you, something you can do is like if you want to like share some stuff throughout the day on your Instagram stories, but you don't feel comfortable posting during office hours, I just sometimes will save them. And then once office hours are done, I just go ahead and post them. So if there's like a thought on my mind, I'm like, this could be really helpful for people, then I go ahead and record it and I post it after 5. I also schedule out my power pockets, and I know that like, okay, if I have this time during lunch and I like, want to spend 30 minutes like reading or whatever, the first 30 minutes I'm going to be inviting and I'm going to be following up with my challengers. And then finally, when you're at the office, be at the office. This was something that I struggled with a lot, like my first few months, is like I was wanting to do all of this Beachbody stuff when I was at work. But the reality is, even though I don't like love my job, that job is a blessing. Like that job, pays for like our lifestyle. And that job is like, I mean, it's a blessing from the Lord. And I am called to be a good steward of that job when I am there. And then afterwards I can leave, know that I did a good job, and start grinding with Beachbody. So just a couple notes.
Can I say something on that really quick, Emily?
Yeah, of course.
One thing I always thought about too was like, why would God give me like more with my Beachbody business if I couldn't steward my job well? And like, I think, so I always thought about that when I was working full time, is like just making sure that like, I didn't ever want people to have a question in their mind about if I was working on Beachbody stuff during the day. And from time to time I would, if like I got all of my Red Bull work done, but I always wanted people to be like sad when I left, like, oh wow, we lost something really valuable, instead of being like, oh, she was already halfway out anyway. And, I think too, just remembering at the end of the day, you represent King Jesus. So it's like, you don't want to burn bridges. You want for people to like, when you leave, to be like, oh, like I want to stay in contact with her, because you're a light and you're like pointing them to Jesus, So that was just a little something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I know. I was like, if I'm not like responsible in this, I'm gonna get fired. You know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, you have to show up for your job. And like, again, what she was saying, like you are representing the Lord when you're at work, and you're representing the Lord. I mean, for me, I work with mostly unbelievers. And so I'm not going to be known as someone who claims to follow Jesus and then is lazy with my job and irresponsible. So just a couple of tips for social media really quick. So the first thing is identify what makes you unique and share those with your audience. This is so important. We talk about this a lot. I love like the color wheel and just like identifying just kind of like unique attributes about you. It's gonna be for like I don't know really hair. So I'm going to be sharing like product tips, like all of that good stuff on my Instagram stories, because that is like I can connect with other girls that are, have curly hair, and like send them product tips, like simple stuff like that. Like I'm a seminary wife. That helps connect me with a certain audience that, maybe like Caroline or like another coach might not be able to connect with. It's important to look well-rounded. Like don't just talk about Beachbody all the time. Like you are a whole person. And people don't want to hear like they're in an infomercial, so show up and like be real, like be yourself, and like share snippets of your life that actually happen. One thing that I don't know, I've had so much fun being able to experiment with social media and to like do my Instagram stories and to like set music to it and all of that stuff. Like for me, that is a really good time. It is a creative outlet, and with my job for social media, like I'm not able to be as creative. So just have fun with this. Like if an Instagram story goes up and it's kind of silly, who cares? It's only up for 24 hours. And if you feel like you're spending all this time trying to get your Instagram stories perfect, just make a pact with yourself that you're only going to do at most 2 takes. Ideally just 1. Because I feel like that comes across as like much more genuine than this super polished person who's just like trying to show up and look perfect all the time. Like if you're in this for the long haul, it is exhausting to do like 8 takes. And so for me, after the first month, I was like, I'm spending way too long on these Instagram stories. If they don't like what they're seeing, then I mean, they can just like not follow me or whatever, but I'm just going to show up, be myself. And like that has worked out really well for me, because I don't feel like I'm a different person on Instagram than I am in real life. And when I'm like coaching people, they know what they're getting when they sign up with me. Make your feed look good. So I am like, I'll show up with like crazy bedhead on Instagram stories, But when I'm showing up in like my feed, or when I'm like looking at my feed, I want it to think like, okay, like if I'm looking at a storefront, what is appealing to me? Because I'm trying to target like my type of girl like right now. So like, you know, young, newlywed, you know, probably like out of college and stuff. And so like, I'm like, what would be attractive like to me? So I look at feeds that I like and, you know, pull inspiration from that. Don't be a copycat, but don't be afraid to be inspired by other accounts. I think presets are a great investment. Save you a lot of time, make yourself look really good. Engagement is king, so you need to use polls, tag others, do shout outs, do things that are going to be shareable. Like if someone shouted me out in a challenge group, I'd be like, I'm sharing that to my Instagram story. I'm going to let everyone know that I'm showing up and getting fit. So do things like that. Like be intentional about thinking, okay, like how am I going to get other people to see this content? You know, people that aren't following me. Ask for opinions, you know, cool people into your life. And then these are just a few apps that I really liked for social media. Canva is a big one, Unfold, Mojo, Hyperlapse. Our everyday presets are the presets that I use, and I really, really like them. If you can't figure out your spacing for your Instagram captions, the gram spacer is like $3, and it is so helpful. I couldn't figure it out, and like that's literally what I do for a job. So I bought the app, and it works. If you guys need any of these apps, feel free to message me, and I will get those to you. Okay, so at the end of the day, focus on creating an incredible customer experience. If you are doing the hard work of selling and then someone purchases a challenge pack from you and you do not deliver on your promises, they're going to tell other people about it. You need to make sure that your customer experience is incredible. If you say that you're going to provide like one-on-one coaching, then you get on a call when you sell that challenge pack and you identify what their goals are, you know, like what obstacles are they facing, and be mindful of those. Like I have a list of like my challengers and I write down some things that they are struggling with so that when I go and follow up with them, I know how to like what questions I should be asking. I also have a list of, and guys, I don't have that many challengers right now. And so if you're a new coach, this would probably be really effective. I write out each of my challengers and I make notes of when I reach out to them individually so that I can make sure that I'm reaching out to them like one-on-one, probably like once a week, and just checking in with them. And that might be a little bit much, but for me, I have seen a lot of growth and I've done a lot of easy sales from people who are referring their friends. So if you give an incredible experience and you do your best to serve the people that are right in front of you, they are going to tell other people about it. And if you don't, they will tell other people about it and you will not sell to their friends. So this is just an easy way to just grow your business, serve your little heart out, and know that when you are serving them, that again, like this is a ministry, like God has put this woman underneath you to coach and to encourage. And so pray for them, like pray that the Lord gives you discernment and wisdom when you're like interacting with them, and that he gives you the discernment to like lead them well. So pray for love and like pray for endurance as like you coach difficult customers too. Celebrate victories and remember who you represent. So again, just remember that you are representing the Lord. Like most of us coaches that are on this team are super open about that. And so we are called to a higher standard. If you are going to say that you're a believer and you're coaching from a faith and fitness, you know, foundation, then do not dishonor the name of the Lord, and like show up and serve well. So that is all I have for you guys. So sorry I talked really, really fast. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
This was amazing, Emily.
Yeah.
I literally have a whole entire page of notes. And I just feel like this should be like a call that new coaches listen to, because there's just so many truth bombs and so many things that I could say. Really quick, just a few things that I wrote down that I loved, but I was just kind of thinking about. But like one of the things that you were talking about is when you first signed up and you reached out and you were like, okay, there's probably only a few spots. It just shows the power of like how many people are waiting on the other side to get that invite. And I think a lot of times we think, oh, I'm just going to be annoying or pestering, or I'm posting it again, the list of the coaches of the spots I have for the people I'm going to mentor. Like even if you're a brand new coach and you're trying to like launch the coaching side of the business, it's okay to say, I'm going to take on 2 coaches this month, and even advertise it, even if you're only wanting 2 coaches, just because I think you just never know who's on the other side, who's thinking about it, but maybe they're scared to death. And if you reached out to them, or if they marked yes on a poll and then you shot them a message, like that might need that might be the confidence they need for you to speak that over them. Like, hey, you would be amazing at this. Because I just think that a lot of people think like, I could never do that. I would never be good at that. Um, and then the second thing was, and I know Stephanie called this out, but like the importance of asking people to commit a year. I think we can become very desperate in this business if we're not careful. And especially when we have things like push to diamonds, and those things are important because they help us, right? But at the same time, like also not being desperate for people to join you. Because a lot of times when we get super desperate, sometimes we don't necessarily get the quality coaches that we want. I had 4 coach opportunity calls over the past probably like 3 days. And every single one of them, I said at the end of the call, I would love to have you join our team, pray about it, but know this, I only take coaches on who are going to commit a year. And I told them that, and I said, this business is hard work. It's gonna be hard. There's days that you're gonna want to give up. There's gonna be days that you're like, why did I do this? And so you need to know that right now. And I pour a lot of time into my team, and I create tons of resources. And I would personally rather have amazing quality coaches and have a true community here than a bunch of people who have like one toe in and they're planning on quitting tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So that's for me. I mean, some coaches are cool with having as many as they can fit, but I'm not. And I'd rather have like people who are all in. So just know that like when you're confident about that, that comes across to the people you're talking to. And so just kind of thinking through that, because that was obviously extremely powerful for you, Emily, and helped you push through in moments when you felt like giving up, because you knew that like you made a commitment. And even if like, obviously if someone like really was going to quit 3 months in, I'm not going to be like, nope, sorry, you're here for a year, holding you down, pinning you down. But you guys get what I'm saying? I think asking them for that verbal commitment is okay to do. And then last thing is, I had a conversation with Courtney about this over the weekend, but it's really easy to get discouraged when someone quits, or when someone ghosts us. I know we've probably all had that happen with a challenger or maybe a coach who signed up, and we were so excited about them because we got on the phone with them and we heard their why, and it was so powerful. And we saw something in them that was like, man, I want to help her get there. I want to help her quit her full-time job one day so she can be with her kids. And so when we get that random email from Beachbody saying that they quit, it's like this like stab in the heart, because you're just like, did I do something wrong? Like, what did I not? And we like, the enemy will use that to make you think that you're not good enough, that you're not a good enough upline, that you're not doing things right. Same thing with challengers. I've had things happen where challengers haven't gotten what they wanted out of a group, or maybe I should have voiced the expectations of what they can expect in this group, maybe up front or something like that. And so it was like discouragement whenever they said that they didn't get what they wanted out of the group, or that they didn't, whatever, get the results they wanted. But at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on the other side. I had no idea that Emily was sitting over there fighting fear like she was, right? So we just don't know like the fears and the real nerves that they're fighting against on the other side of the phone or the computer or whatever. And so if they're ghosting you, there might be something bigger going on. And so just giving yourself grace in that, and just know that like part of it is going to be their own battle that they have to kind of push through. That was just a few of the things that stuck out that I was like, oh, I want to make sure I mention these. But let's take questions. If you guys want to unmute yourself, or if you want to drop them in the chat box, unmuting yourself would be amazing, just so that way we get more people talking on here. But I know we've only got a few more minutes till, well, it is 9. But let's maybe take 5 minutes if everyone's cool, just with questions really quick before we wrap things up. Let's see. Anyone got anything? Don't be shy, guys. I know someone has to have at least one question for Emily. Anyone? Is everyone just tired and like wanting to end this call so they can go to bed? Especially my Eastern friends. Okay, what was the color wheel you mentioned? Brooke, it is in the Holy Hustle Academy. Oh, you're fine. It's in the Holy Hustle Academy, but I'll tag you in the team page. There's like a YouTube video training that we did. And I'll tag you in it. I think it's in the Holy Hustle Academy. Maybe it's not. I'll tag you in it so that way you can see it. Love it. All right. Well, let's, sorry, I'm having trouble seeing everybody because I got way too many screens going on. Okay, there we go. Now I can see everyone. Okay. If there's no other questions, anybody, speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding. You can probably text or message Emily later if you want. This is amazing. Yes. Yeah, you killed it, Emily. It was amazing. So good. All right, well, let's pray really quick, and then we'll wrap things up. But it's so good to see all your faces. So thanks for being on tonight. Heavenly Father, God, thank you so much, God, for Emily. Thank you for her story. Thank you for the work that you're doing in her life and her husband's life. God, it's just so cool to see how you have brought them together and set them in this in Louisville for such a time as this, God, and just what you're doing there through them and in them, through their ministry there, through the people they're meeting, God, through Emily's work, through Emily's fitness business, God. It's so cool to be a part of and to have a front row seat and see, God, just the community that you're building around her, God. Lord, I just pray over her and her husband, God. I just pray for continued blessings, Lord. I pray that you would just continue to provide, God, continue to just bring about incredible opportunities for them as they take steps of faith, God, and just trusting you in the future, Lord, and whatever things look like, God. I just pray that you would continue to just guide their steps and give them wisdom, Lord. I pray that you would continue to bless her business, Lord, help it to continue to thrive as she just is so authentic and real. And Lord, I just love her genuine heart. And even though she says that she drops the truth and she's a tough lover, God, I love that about her. And so, God, I just pray that you would just continue to use her gifts for your glory, God. Lord, I pray over each and every one of these women, God. Thank you for just their obedience and putting their yes on the table, God. And for some of them, it's for fun and for community. And for some of them, it's to build a side hustle, Lord, to help provide for their family. But God, we just thank you for an opportunity like Beachbody, a secular company that we have the responsibility of just stewarding this business, Lord, and being a light here. God, we know that the fitness industry is dark. And it's so easy for people to get sucked in here, God. People think that they're going to find their worth inside of fitness. But God, we know that our worth is found in you. And so, God, I just pray that you would help us to shine bright for you and just to point people to you, God. I know sometimes, too, it can be difficult when we are so busy trying to inspire other people and encourage other people. We can get very drained as leaders. And so, God, would you refresh the hearts of these women tonight, God? I pray that even over the next few weeks with summer, God, that they would just be refreshed in their spirits, Lord, that you would just help them to take care of themselves, take care of their families, help them to steward their time well as they work this business, God. I just pray that you would multiply the amount of time that they're able to put in this business, God, and that you would give them fresh eyes as they serve people and look for the people that you have called them to love on, God. Lord, we love you so much, Jesus. Thank you for just the gift of your son and our salvation, God. Lord, we just love you, and I praise you so much for this incredible community. Use them this week and over the next few weeks. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, thanks for being on. I'm going to take a picture really quick, and I will let you guys go. But I hope you all have a great week. Okay, everybody smile. So cute. All right, well, thanks everybody for being on. Y'all have a great night.